So, Evo and Chaz, you guys are absolutely amazing. Chaz, you're incredible in this movie, and you're incredible too. So, why don't you each tell me about what got attracted you to this project?
I'll obviously let you start, Evo.
Oh, thank you. Very kind. Um, so it's a topic that I have always been interested in. The dynamics of these groups and especially how some of these charismatic leaders manage to get people to do things for them. And I promise I was not researching this for nefarious purposes, but because I was curious. I was always fascinated. How does somebody like Jim Jones get, 1,000 people to move to French Guiana and then half of them commit suicide? It's fascinating. And so I wanted to explore that, and I started researching, and of course it was a massive rabbit hole I ended up in, only to discover that it's really a system of steps and manipulations and things that they do that have been applied throughout history by people who want to manipulate people, whether it's politics or religion or these cults or any sort of kind of sway that somebody's trying to have over others. And so it fascinated me, and I figured, it will be a really interesting film to make. And so I started writing it, and this is where we ended up.
It's incredible, and I love it. It's my new favorite. So, and I'm not just saying that; it's really my new favorite. Chaz, what about you? Tell me a little bit about your role.
Well, I play one of the campers, and play a guy called Herbert, and he's kind of just really gung-ho. He comes in after suffering kind of a trauma in his personal life and is clearly looking for something, searching for something to make him feel better, to teach him something, to figure this out, and finds Reboot Camp, and he just grabs on with both arms. And when I decided to do it, and we did a table read, I talked to Evo, and I said, look, I see Herbert as just the guy who is the ultimate camper. Like, he's just, if they're, he's the one who's drunk the most Kool-Aid of everybody, and that was kind of my feeling of him from the beginning, and that's what I kind of stuck to through it, and I think it works really well for this guy.
And you did great. Did you do any kind of special research before you took on the role, or while you were filming?
Not really. I mean, I too, kind of like Evo, I've always been fascinated with cults. I find it so interesting that people can be, manipulated and, and end up in a place where they so didn't begin, that you can come into something for really pure reasons, and just looking for some help or a new way of thinking about things, or some fellowship or whatever, and turn around and have your whole life, been taken over and kind of given up all your worldly possessions and all of this stuff. And it's always really fascinated me. So, and then, when I did American Horror Story Cult, that was a super deep dive into that world. So this was kind of a light, fun romp, compared to that. And I mean, it was, for me, it was just making those choices and making that commitment. And we had talked about some films that we had watched in common, Eva and I. There's a great Netflix documentary, I believe it's called Holy Hell.
Holy Hell, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
Great film.
Which is a great, just an amazing film that's so like in the middle of this thing, because the guy who films it was in the cult, and he had gone to film school. So, they just do a brilliant job, documenting everything. So yeah, that I had watched really on my own prior to getting involved, and then Evo and I talked, so I watched that again. But yeah, that was really it. I mean, I feel like I had really I had been in that world for a whole summer when I did Cult, so kind of this was easy and fun to slip into. And we were all together all the time in this house, so it was very easy, as actors, I think, to get the familiarity and fellowship with each other that would be natural in this situation.
So what about you, Evo?
Um, what exactly are you?
I was just saying, what kind of special research did you do, or did you read any specific books or watch any movies while you were writing this?
I watched anything that I could get my hands on. So I watched every single documentary, both stuff that's on, Netflix and the usual channels, as well as more obscure YouTube shorter versions about people that just do that ended up in cults. And I read tons of books about cults and deprogramming and the effects it has, just to be really, really, before I delved into writing about it. So it's based in reality. And this is where I realized, oh my God, this is how I'm going to structure the story. It's these sort of chapters that are these steps in the manipulation process, which is the love bombing, where you arrive first and everything's perfect and everybody loves you and you're thinking like, oh my God, I have found the best place on earth. Why is not everybody joining? And so after a while you get, totally sucked in, and then slowly the thing starts changing and the reality starts showing, and nobody comes to you and says, hey, want to join a cult? They're like, hey, it's an environmental group. It's a family that explores whatever. And so you get total manipulation, right? And that's fascinating that if it was, but it's fascinating also that how quickly that shift changes once you're in. You're in a group, you're surrounded by these wonderful people, or people who pretend to be your family, and all of a sudden you start accepting stuff that you would have found not acceptable only 4 weeks ago, and that to me is just fascinating. And it's everybody, the biggest thing that I learned from this, I went in with a judgment. I could never fall for this and la 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 la. When I finished writing this screenplay and the multiple rewrites, I was like, you know what? Anybody, including me, could be sucked into this at the right moment in time. And that is when people are in between and insecure, they runaways that run away from home, or after a divorce, loss of job, major life events that make you very insecure and lonely. And you find this group that all of a sudden, oh my God, I'm having some structure, I have a support system, I have a family, I have love, and you're willing to give up a lot for that. And that's really the basis for a lot of these, if not most.
Yes, exactly. I have a weird fascination with this kind of stuff too, and I found a lot of it's equivalent to, I hate using this comparison, but almost like being in an abusive relationship. It's like, oh, it seems wonderful
Totally.
at first, but you can't get it. Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah. It's this codependence, and it's just fascinating how it works. And there's people like, again, these dozens of documentaries I watched, interviews with people who are, doctors and lawyers, and they give hundreds of thousands of dollars of their personal hard-earned money over, 40 years of careers to this organization so that, dear leader can have another Rolls Royce or something. I mean, it's just nuts, but fascinating.
absolutely. It is, exactly. But you have such a diverse cast. I mean, you have the amazing Chaz, you have Corinne Olympios from the Bachelor franchise, you have so many other people. What did you look for when you were casting these people?
My personal goal was to to have a very diverse cast. Our casting process was unique because I didn't do the usual breakdown where it says, you know, it's female, this age, blonde, yeah, you know. I hate that. It's such a stereotype, and I think a lot of projects in the past were done like this. To me, it was more like, here's probably, you know, this age range, and we know it's kind of a, you know, type of person, and that's about it. And let's see who comes and then who really connects with this character. And it was a wonderful process because it's very organic, and we were open to all kinds of changes because you just never know who is going to come. So a lot of the characters have been tweaked for the better in the casting process. I'll give you one example, which was the Jimmy character, who ended up being a gay Asian man, or American Asian, who was written as a surfer dude, blonde California surfer kid. And when we, you know, Jimmy was interviewing for a bit part. I mean, Daniel. And when we saw him, we were like, hey, this is amazing. So we were like, hey, would you consider, we'll rewrite the character for you. Would you consider this? And he was like, yeah, of course, it's a much bigger role. So those kinds of things happened. And then that to me is the magic of this type of filmmaking is you open yourself to possibilities and you're not rigid about, you know, you know what you want, you know the story you want to tell, and this is where you're not flexible with. But the rest just kind of like adds, and then it adds and mushrooms and grows together organically. And so I'm very grateful for having been able to do this in this process.
Yeah, and I like that idea of how you thought of that. And Chaz, what was it like working with these people?
Oh, I mean, you know, it was great. I mean, our core group of actors that were in there every day, were all awesome people. I mean, we had a really good time making this picture. You know, we filmed, you know, primarily at Frank Sinatra's old house in Woodland Hills. So we were all staying in this house. You know, we filmed in it, but we used it. You know, we used the bedrooms were our dressing rooms that we all shared. You know, the kitchen was where we had lunch made. You know, every day was, you know, was our craft service.
It was almost cult-like.
Yeah, it was. So we were, you know, we all got to interact and got to, you know, get to know each other in a way that you often don't when you're doing a film or TV show and you're kind of, you know, in your trailer or called to set. We all got to, you know, hang out and mingle and be together. And that was really fun, which was a great process.
And when was this film? Was it pre or post or during the pandemic?
Just before.
Before, yeah.
COVID. Yeah. So we
Oh,
did
wow.
post. The entire post was done during COVID, which was a new experience for me because normally you sit with people. You're in, you know, you're with the colorist, you're with the sound person, you're with in the studio, and this was all remote, and it was crazy slow process because you send files, then you review files, then you're not looking at the same monitor, and that's like, oh, this is magenta. No, it's red. Oh my God. It was a nightmare in terms of just the processing, which is why it took longer to finish. But you know, you roll with the punches.
Yeah, and you know what? I'll tell you something. I never would have guessed that. I would have thought this was all pre-pandemic the way it was filmed. Like, you know, you watch this 20 years from now, you never would have guessed it was edited and done during a pandemic. So good job on that one.
Well, thank you. Yeah, we have good
Now,
people on the film.
and what's next for you guys? Any special projects coming up?
We David Lipper, who is my producing partner in this, or one of them, but we're developing this into a series, or well, pitching it. So we have Mike Short on board as part of our team from Schitt's Creek, who is amazing. And so that's the hope, is that, you know, after the film's out, we get to extend this life of this crazy reboot camp that we all love and have so much fun working on, which would be awesome. And then I'm polishing a screenplay for the next film I want to make, which is crazy kind of contest satire about weddings.
Ooh, I like that. I like it. What
Yeah.
about you, Chaz?
I'm just kind of waiting. The projects that I was supposed to shoot have all gotten pushed back because of COVID. So I'm auditioning and just waiting to see when things get going again.
Nice. And one thing I like to ask the people I interview is tell me a fun fact about yourself. So each of you tell me a fun fact about yourself, please.
Chaz, you go first.
A fun fact. I don't know. I took the time over the pandemic when I was doing nothing to learn how to build watches.
Really? Wow. That sounds
Yeah.
like fun.
It is very creative and relaxing.
Are you going to do come out with your own line of watches, or is it something you're just going to do for yourself?
No, I have actually sold some, but I do kind of work with people on what they want. So it's kind of custom on demand.
Ooh, we might have to talk about that later. I like that.
They're cool. I've seen some of them. They're really cool.
What about you, Evo? Fun fact?
Fun fact. I have a unlimited supply of bad dad jokes that I share with my family to massive eye rolling, especially my daughter. So
I
silly
love
sense of
dad
humor.
jokes.
Silly
Tell us one. Tell us one. I love dad jokes.
Oh, dad jokes. What do you call a dyslexic atheist?
No idea.
A person who doesn't believe in dog. It's terrible. It's terrible, you know.
Like that. I love dad jokes, so that made my day.
Yeah.
And one last question, because I know you guys have to go. Since we're also a TV site, what are you guys watching these days?
Let's see. We just finished the second season of Castle Rock, which was really good. We started watching Clarice. We're peppering it in with some movies. What else? I don't know. It seems like you just go through TV stuff all the time. So, but yeah, that's our most recent things that we just have been watching.
Nice. So what about you, Evo?
I finally got around to watching Breaking Bad, which I never watched originally, and it was really good. And I watched Ozark too during this pandemic, which was also really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good shows. Very good shows.
Dark, but amazing writing and of course acting too. So it's a pleasure.
Well, it takes two to know two. I see an amazing actor, an amazing writer right in front of me right now. So
Oh, well, thank you.
nice. And where can we find you two on social media so we can send you follows?
So the film, I will pitch the film. It's Reboot Camp Film on Instagram. This is our main social. We have Facebook and Twitter, but Insta is our main. And that's also the website, rebootcampfilm.com, where we will post also once the release is happening, which is May 4th, all the links where people can watch it. So if you can follow us, that would be great.
I will. And May 4th is easy to remember. Star Wars Day.
Yes, May 4th.
May the 4th be with you.
Chaz, the 4th be with us, indeed.
Yes, it will be.
See, that was a bad dad joke right there.
And I love it.
I highly appreciate
it. Yeah. And what about you, Chaz? You on social media?
I am, yeah. I'm on Twitter and under my name, and I'm on Instagram under the real Chaz Bono, and I'm on Facebook too, with my name.
Yep, and that's Chaz with a Z, right?
That is correct, yes.
All right. I just want to make sure because people sometimes have various spellings. So I just want to make sure. Well, you two, this was a fantastic time. And thank you both for taking the time today.
Thanks so much.
Appreciate it.
Yep. I'll see you both soon. Good luck.
Okay, thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.